A very good evening to you and welcome to News Tonight here on GHOne TV. I am Natalie. Let's take a look at our top stories. Coming up this evening, Ghana races against time in galamsey fight as researchers discover presence of heavy metals in kontomire and other foodstuffs sampled from illegal mining hotspots.
For some time, and this cocoyam potentially can come easily. And then we just go there once we find the cocoyam leaves we think is consumable. But
also ahead, over 480,000 2025 BECE candidates secure placements in senior high schools, while 107,000 will need to undergo self-placement. Also in the bulletin tonight, beautiful display of culture, heartwarming tributes and deep spirituality as Asanteman climaxes 4-day funeral rites of the late Asante Hima.
Without the matrilineal strength of her presence, the golden stool itself will stand without renewal.
And ahead in business, BOG signals confidence in cedi stability, cuts policy rates to 21.5% as inflation hits 4-year low. On the international front, sister-in-law of Togolese president arrested after calling for his resignation. And Malawi to prematurely declare election victory. Those are the top stories here on News Tonight on GHOne TV, streaming all across the world on Facebook and X at GHOne TV. We get started with Insight. On Insights this evening, the 2025 Mercury and Other Heavy Metals Impact Assessment report reveals cocoyam leaves, known locally as kontomire, sampled from 6 mining regions in the country, are heavily contaminated with mercury and other toxic metals. Findings of the study by Pure Earth and partner organizations suggest that eating this popular staple could expose one to serious health risks, from kidney disease and cancer in adults to brain damage and reduced IQ in children. Nadima Umar Usman has more.
Kontomire is a loved ingredient in many Ghanaian homes. It is touted as a very healthy, leafy vegetable and is highly recommended by nutritionists. However, that story is changing with the discovery of mercury and other toxic metals in some foodstuff, especially kontomire, sampled from 6 regions in Ghana.
We also noticed the presence of mercury, lead, arsenic in the food chain. We are talking about pumpkin leaves, we are talking about kontomire. All these have heavy concentration of mercury, lead, and arsenic in them. What it means for the ordinary Ghanaian is that he or she is at risk of poisoning from eating, any of this contaminated food that has the presence of these heavy metals, mercury, lead, or arsenic in them.
The research conducted by Pure Earth and other partners in the Eastern, Western, Ashanti and Central regions tested the presence of poisonous metals in the air, soil, water, crops and fish used in illegal mining.
In Savannah region, we're looking at a place called Dakrupe. Dakrupe is a community that is into mining. In fact, the whole of that community is a mining site. It's unfortunate. And this is just an example. And most of the people whom we noticed that were most women do not even take any precautions. And we can just imagine the direct impact on the health of these people. We believe that as a nation, we are at the crossroads. And we can't continue paying lip service anymore. something drastic needs to be done.
The environmental protection group Pure Earth, working with Ghana's Environmental Protection Agency, says urgent action is needed.
We found some of these heavy metals in our food, especially contumely that we eat. The third aspect is that contumely, after this is the cocoyam leaves. After we have maybe most of the people have finished with the artisanal small scale mining, they leave it for some time, and this cocoyam potentially can come easily. And then we just go there. Once we find the cocoyam leaves, we think it's consumable. But this is very dangerous.
Experts warn that without strong interventions, the silent spread of mercury and other poisons into food crops could leave many Ghanaians with life-threatening conditions, including kidney diseases, cancer, brain damage, and reduced IQ in children.
Blessing Enyonam Dago is project manager at Pure Earth Ghana, and she joins me now for more on this rather concerning development. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, first of all, which other crops and foodstuff did you discover have heavy metals in them, aside the contumely?
All right. Thank you very much for having me. Good evening to all your listeners as well. Yes, so well, basically the study wasn't just to find these toxic heavy metals in food alone, whether it's in soil, in water, in air, in fish samples, and then in the food crops we mentioned as well. Like you rightly mentioned, contumely was one of the vegetables that came up with elevated heavy metal levels above the international standards, that's the WHO and then the FAO. We also saw pumpkin leaves. So basically, from what we have gathered, it's looking like vegetables. That's, like I mentioned, contumely, pumpkin leaves, tomato is what is registering above the threshold we have discovered. So basically, this is what we have been presented with. Yes.
Right. Now, talking about the research conducted, can you further highlight what the sources of contamination are? You talk about mercury. Any in addition?
Yes. So the other heavy metals we analyzed was lead, was cadmium, and then arsenic as well. I'd also want to highlight that arsenic was found in very high concentrations across all the food chains, across soil, water samples, and then fishes in some of these areas, especially in the Ashanti region. Even though we know it's an area which has a geology of high arsenic rocks, but then the levels recorded were pretty high. And then I think additional study will be needed to be able to quantify how these arsenic levels would potentially, harm individuals living nearby or individuals who tend to consume products coming from this region.
Right. Now, Blessing, can you specify, do we find that these contaminants are primarily from galamsey activities, or are there other factors that are contributing to them?
Okay, so like I said earlier, so we have this coming from the galamsey activities. We have these heavy metals occurring at natural temperatures under the earth, but once they are brought or excavated to the surface of the earth, we have them being destabilized. They tend to react with a different environment, forming different, versions of these chemicals, and then at the end of the day, we have them impacting the health of individuals living nearby these areas.
Now, Blessing, you mentioned that the main food items you see as per the study are vegetables, and these are used pretty much every day in homes, and there must be many viewers who are concerned about this development. What do you have to say with regards to how these vegetables can, say, be treated at home before consumption? Is there any way around this?
Unfortunately, it's a difficult thing. I wouldn't say every vegetable in the home highly leaded, highly, contaminated with these toxic metals. But I think cutting or solving this issue at its roots, it's something that is very, very, very necessary. To say you would have to treat a leafy vegetable, I mean, how are you going to treat it? I really have no idea. But then, from our point of view, we feel we know that treating or mitigating some of this risk right at the source is one thing that would really help minimize the danger it comes with, rather than looking at how we can solve it at the end of the day when it gets to our table before we are looking at solving it. So, like I mentioned, solving this right at the root cause will be the best and effective way to minimize the risk of coming into contact with them.
Very well. Now, Blessing, you mentioned that, and aside this research, what's your level of engagement as per the organization Pure Earth in terms of engaging with stakeholders to ensure that this is properly handled?
Yes. So, like I already mentioned, we partner with government agencies, like you mentioned, the Environmental Protection Agency. For instance, today we had a dissemination session where we brought government agencies, we brought CSOs to a round table discussing this result and then the way forward. We had the Environmental Protection there. We had representatives from the Minerals Commission, the Ghana Health Service, UNICEF, WHO, and the likes. Pure Earth prioritizes partnering with these governmental institutions to be able to arrive at solutions that would help or curb this menace in Ghana. Yeah.
Well, Blessing Gbadago, thank you very much for your time this evening and sharing insights on this development. We'll certainly more on it subsequently. Now, in a related development, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has officially launched the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program, affirming government's commitments to ensuring mining is conducted both responsibly and sustainably. At the event in Bibiani, the sector minister Emmanuel Amakofi Bois declared that mining communities should benefit from mineral deposits. A key component of the new initiative is a call for large-scale mining companies to release their portions of concessions for the cooperative mining scheme.
What do you say? Forest, yeah. That's the idea. And into the middle way, a hole and a issue in Ghana and Subia, Nasia, if forest reserve. That's the forest, Sa forest, no quite, last one. Oh, into your forest in Tina, and from my airborne, you see, and be a forest. Cecia Minokase, Ghana is surely in a million. I go from 5,000 to almost 12,000. Into the machine, I will room is your cry. I just say, no poison. And maybe into Nipami, you be scar, who penty, young one. Obasawa mining. Who baby any. Ubedika, Abishia, District Mining Committee, and Ananum Timon. Watch your coordinates, no. Nana, Mamma, commitment authorization, what you are coming for. Sala can express a one community actually said, Baby, I will obey you, as I say. What's what you actually said? But you have a baby, Nana, Mokwina say, or Hamina Bay, Basic schools, Amam, Bay, and son are buying Amman licenses, not their back, beginning. Oh, I am there.
Well, the lands minister, they're highlighting the fact that these large-scale mining companies should ensure that they invest back in the communities in which they are mining to develop them as a result of the mining operations being conducted there, saying that we shouldn't all suffer just because a few want to engage in mining. More on that subsequently, but that wraps up Insights for tonight. Still live here on News Tonight on GHOne TV. In other news, with focus on education, Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Clement Apak, has announced that 590,309 Ghanaians who sat for the 2024 Basic Education Certificate Examination, BECE, have qualified for placement into senior high and technical schools nationwide. Out of that number, 483,800 candidates have been automatically placed, while about 107,000 others will have to go through the self-placement process to secure schools of their choice. Addressing journalists at a press conference in Accra following the opening of the computerized school selection and placement system, review and confirmation portal, Dr. Apak charged parents and candidates to remain calm and go through the process to complete their registration.
107,509 candidates, making up 18.2%, could not be matched with their initial choices due to the high demand for Category A schools. As a nation, we must acknowledge that while access to secondary education is expanding, the demand for certain top-tier schools remains higher than their available capacities. It is therefore important that we manage expectations and, more importantly, we work together to strengthen all schools. Every Ghanaian child deserves quality education, no matter where they are placed. To address this, the self-placement portal has been activated and is currently live. All qualified candidates who were not automatically placed are encouraged to log onto the system and to select from the schools with available vacancies.
Meanwhile, Dr. Apak also announced that 70 private schools have been selected for the 2025 placement exercise in a bid to expand access and eliminate bottlenecks in the free senior high school program.
This year, as part of the free senior high school program, we are piloting 70 private senior high schools. At the time of the school selection process, only 21 of these private senior high schools were available. But I am pleased to inform you that all 70 private senior high schools are now accessible on the portal, providing more opportunities for students. In total, the placement program covers 724 public senior and senior high technical schools, 233 TVET institutions, and 70 private senior high schools under the pilot program.
Still on access to education, the Demonstration School for the Deaf at Ekuapim Mampong in the eastern region says it is unable to admit more students due to inadequate infrastructure. Although management acknowledges efforts being made by the government to complete the school's abandoned projects, it cannot meet the growing demand for admission until they're fully completed.
Established in 1967 as a practical training institution for sign language teachers, the Demonstration School for the Deaf currently has 531 students. Headmaster Doji Ametewe says the school's capacity to enroll more learners is restricted due to inadequate facilities.
Since COVID, we've had a lot of backlog, and we would need space to be able to bring them on. And so there's been some projects that were written for, they're on campus, but they've not been completed. And so from time to time, we chase them to see how the ministry, government can help to finish up with these projects. And as I speak now, one contractor is even on site.
He further revealed that the deaf-blind units of the school urgently needs a massage center to cater to the neurotherapeutic needs of the students.
Even though we are saying they are hearing impaired children, some of them are autistic, some of them have a bit of cerebral palsy and all of those things. So if we have this massage center with professionals, then from time to time they can do that. But as it is now, we have the house mothers using some creams and all of the balms to be able to massage them, and that is what we are doing. But if we actually have a professional center, they need to go a long way to support these children as they go through their instruction.
To help reduce employment, the school has established a vocational center to train students in employable skills. Chairman and founder of Kabaka Foundation, Nana Oredu Wadia I in Nkoswahine of Kwau Inkwetia, has pledged to construct the massage center for the school within a year.
The headmaster said something about a massage project. I will tell you today, before God the man, next year, before I celebrate my birthday, this project should be completed.
These followed his donation of food items, sanitary pads, toiletries, and stationery to the institution.
I have a team coming from the US, chiropractics, and they'll be here in November. And we've promised that when they come to Ghana, this will be their first point of contact so that we can treat their kids. And then later on, when we build the massage center, we continue up from there.
Management of Demonstration School for the Deaf is hopeful that with sustained support from government, NGOs, and philanthropists, the school can expand its facilities to admit more students and improve learning outcomes for children with hearing and visual impairments. Reporting for GHOne TV and Star FM, Kudransa.
You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Do stay with us. We bring you some more news shortly. Welcome back to News Tonight. In other top stories this evening, the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, came to a standstill today for the climax of the 4-day funeral rites of the late Asantehene Nana Kunedu Yaidam III. The rites, which began on Monday, drew the president, former president John Agyekum Kufuor and Akufo-Addo, chiefs from all over the country, government officials, diplomats and thousands of mourners to the Menchia Palace. The event climaxed with a beautiful display of culture, deep spirituality and heartwarming tributes. The Asanteman's 14th Queen Mother joined her ancestors, aged 98 after reigning for 8 years. Here are highlights of the funeral, including tributes read on behalf of President Mahama and the Asantehene, who is also the late Asantehene's brother.
Today, exactly after 5 p.m., is still something that they are going to enforce, and that anyone who disrespect that directive could have a spiritual encounter with the executioners, also known as Abrafo, that can be fatal. And so the caution is that remain indoor after 5 p.m. when Otumfuo rises from the funeral ground. Go home. 7 p.m. executioners will be on the streets to clear road for the king and the Menchia royal entourage, including the Nsumankwa people, for them to go and give the late Asantehene befitting burial in line with tradition and Asante culture.
It is with profound sorrow and a heavy heart that I join the people of Ghana, particularly Asanteman, in mourning the passing of a truly remarkable matriarch, the late Nana Kunedu Yaidam III. She was without a doubt a majestic pillar of strength and inspiration, and not only to the Asanteman and the Menchia Palace, but to the entire nation. Throughout her 8-year reign, she embodied a true essence of Asante values, maintaining tradition with steadfast dedication and projecting an image of dignity and peace. My wife, Lordina, often spoke of the warmth and maternal embrace that she experienced during her visit to Menchia, feeling truly at home in the Asantehene's presence. That was a testament to Nana Kunedu Yaidam III's profound influence and generous hospitality. Her passing at the distinguished age of 98 leaves a deep void in her heart and in Ghana's traditional landscape. She led a full and a very meaningful life. Asanteman and indeed Ghana will always remember the lasting impact she made, which undoubtedly will motivate future generations.
The passing of Nana Kunedu Yaidam III, my beloved senior sister, the Asantehene and mother of the golden stool, has left an emptiness in my heart and in the soul of Asanteman. It is not easy for me, as king, to put into words the depth of my grief for the nation has lost a mother, and I have lost not only a sister, but one of my greatest pillars of strength. She was not only the Asantehene in title, she was truly the mother of the kingdom, the one whose calm and measured presence held together the delicate threads of our family, our lineage, and our tradition. In her court, she listened with patience. In council, she spoke with wisdom. In ceremony, she carried herself with majesty. And in her private life, she showed a tenderness that only a mother can offer. She embodied the sacred proverb, Oba Enawo Ohene, which it is a woman who gives birth to a king. For without her, without the matrilineal strength of her presence, the golden stool itself will stand without renewal.
From the gates of hell, deliver us, hear our prayer. And as I cry, come on to thee. The Lord be with you.
Now, following this, all residents in Kumasi have been asked to stay indoors until the final procession and burial of the late Asante Hima. May her soul rest in perfect peace. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV with me, Natalie Fort. Let's turn to some other stories now. On the 26th of November 2016, the GHOne railway station became the center of national attention. The atmosphere was filled with excitement as President Mahama commissioned the Sekondi Takoradi to GHOne railway line, declaring, quote, "This marks the beginning of the transformation of the railway network in Ghana," unquote. His words carried the weight of history. For decades, Ghana's once proud railway system, built in the colonial era to connect mines and ports, had languished in disrepair, becoming a relic of a bygone age. But on that day in GHOne, it felt like a new narrative was being written. Nearly a decade later, the promise of transformation has withered. Here are excerpts of the Fourth Estate's latest work on the GHOne train station, which is buried in an eerie silence.
These are the trains brought by President Mahama. They've been here for the past 5 months. They haven't moved. Fully air-conditioned trains.
When a brand new diesel multiple unit crashed into a truck which had been parked right on the tracks. Accra to Nsawam line not operational. Accra to Tema line in urgent need of modernization. Takoradi to Takwa service suspended after derailment. Many others are still under construction. The managing director of the Ghana Railway Company, Dr. Michael Eje Anyete, admits the company is far from where it should be.
As I speak with you, Honorable, I know you may have heard for some time now, exactly 6 months, am I right? The railway worker has not received salary. And Honorable Minister, I am not going to blame this government. What we are seeing now is a cumulative effect. When I say cumulative effect, I know we will understand. It didn't start from this government. But the good news is that there is hope.
But why has Ghana's railway story been on pause for so long? To find out, let's rewind.
Nananum, the reconstruction of this line, Western Railway line, is therefore a signal of the beginning of a new era in rail transportation in Ghana.
In 2016, the government invested $165 million into a 15-kilometer suburban railway linking GHOne to Sekondi and Takoradi. It was supposed to be the first step in a grand plan to extend the line through Takwa and Manso all the way to the Takoradi port.
I work at a port. I live in GHOne. So the benefit that I'll have is very, very serious because I'll park my car over here and take this train to port and come back safely. It will make me to keep my petrol and some little money that I can have. I know Jamama is doing best for the Western region.
But after all the fanfare, the railway service has not taken off.
There are several things that went wrong in our country after we got independence. But one of the worst was the way we allowed our railway infrastructure to deteriorate. Other people have got first-class railway systems in the world. Ghana, we're going to have a first-class railway system.
The service began in 2017, but it was irregular and unreliable. By March 2020, trains were suspended. 7 months later, the trains resumed briefly. By 2024, the line was shut down again. Today, the GHOne station tells a different story. A student of UMAT, Michael Amponsa Safo, walks on the railway line almost every day.
My school is just along the rail, so I usually take this path here. And I've been schooling here for the past 2 years. These trains, they used to be stored at a warehouse very close to my school, my campus. And then at the beginning of this year, somewhere December, November, they brought the trains here. When it first came, I thought maybe they were doing renovations either at the place or there were faults with it. So they were bringing it here to fix it. This is a train station. I've been schooling for months and we have never seen any engineer coming to visit the train. We haven't seen anybody boarding it. We haven't seen anything being done about it. It's beginning to rust. When it first came, it looked very pristine. It was very, very nice.
Seeing the trains parked at the GHOne train station annoyed him so much that he posted his rant on X, hoping to get the attention of government.
It'd be bad. It'd be very, very bad. Oh, somebody should do something about this. You don't really have enough good roads in the country. This could be another source of transport. I want the government to step in and do something about it. That's why I made the video in the first place. It's not anything political or maybe related to which government is in power, which one is out of power. It's just me, a concerned citizen, voicing out my opinion.
But what we see is an empty platform. Cobwebs clinging to corners. Weeds growing on roof.
Well, I'm at the GHOne train station, and these trains, bought at a very huge cost to the taxpayer, now sit idle. Look at these trains. They look ready to move. But when you get very close, up close, you would see that rust is eating into the metal of the train. Each idle day turns these trains from assets to liabilities.
This is Ghana's new reality. A modern fleet wasting away. And GHOne is not the worst. Exposed beams. Roof ripped open. Weeds swallowing the tracks. Even the station clock is frozen in time.
I am very close to the secondary station, and I can tell you that currently the rail tracks are not for trains. Weeds have taken over. What was once a very strong symbol of pride has become a playground.
The public relations officer of the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Sahadatou Al-Hassan, said she would not dwell on why the train service has not been running.
Takoradi GHOne was already in operations until some 1 or 2 reasons the trains were packed. And so that issue has to do with GRC or GRDA issues. And so I think the least said about it. That is what I said. The least said about it is, I think, from me, particular, the better. The fueling itself, it's not an easy job. I don't want to be mentioning figures, but the truth of the matter is it involves a lot. As I said, its issue is something I cannot say much about. No matter how many times you bring it back, the least I will say is we are working on it. You will see GHOne run again. When I cannot say, but we are doing our best.
On 17 September 2025, at a government accountability series, the Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, answered questions about the railway service in Takoradi.
when would the Takoradi and other towns have their rail line revamped or operational? I stated clearly that we inherited a situation where all the contractors that were on site had all abandoned site because of unpaid interim certificates that were provided or made. We have gone into discussions with them, and as I reported that Amandi has resumed work. It's led with the other contractors. The issues are time deals with a lot of variations when it comes to contract. And Attorney General's office is assisting us to understand the contractual agreements and the arrangements that were made so that we can get the contractors to site and for them to do a completion of all the projects that they were handling.
Well, the minister's explanation did not include when the rail service will begin and what caused it to be suspended. Just like the broken clock cannot tell the time, government officials also cannot say when services will begin. This is more than a delay. It's a costly cycle. Projects launched with fanfare only to be abandoned, leaving infrastructure to decay. Each passing year means higher bills, more repairs, more innovations, more millions lost. Meanwhile, residents in nearby communities who once believed trains would ease commuting remain hopeful, still waiting for a ride that never comes.
For car, traffic more than by 1 hour in every town. But the train is in Chafuya, short distance, no traffic. I am a yopa. Now you can't at times to say Dr. Grace Mpobaha. Nchebia yabo connection on you railway minister no you know boom. Nanche training why you juma because why you juma don't for soba. Now at the same time could not chrome for yafu car quatakra no so yafu trainer young time.
Mama care my fa car will could do takrade around 20 minutes 10. But 6 hours don't easy. About to take even by 30 minutes to campo do call 45 in a Abia in Takradi because a engine and traffic na de in Tomo or but said training your Juma in chair or Bob Wapa. I'm a moon.
As the promise of a functioning railway system has not been realized yet, residents have no choice but to endure gridlock on the road. Over $165 million has already gone into this short line. Yet today, services are suspended. For many Ghanaians, the promise of modern rail lines remains a dream, one that's still stuck on the track. If past investments have failed, what does this mean for Ghana's future railway ambitions?
Those are excerpts of the Fourth Estate's latest work on the GHOne train station. More on that subsequently. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. We bring you business news next.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business news this evening, the Bank of Ghana says it is confident headline inflation will fall within its medium-term target band of 8+ or -2% by the end of the fourth quarter. The central bank, after its 126th Monetary Policy Committee, that's MPC meeting, cut its key policy rate by 350 basis points to 21.5%, citing sustained disinflation, robust growth and a stable cedi, buoyed by strong external performance and increased reserves from cocoa and other exports.
The Bank of Ghana's latest data shows it continued economic strength. Inflation fell to 11.5% in August 2025, its lowest in 4 years. Real GDP expanded 6.3% in Q2 2025, and the external sector posted a $6.2 billion surplus for the first 8 months of the year. The rate cut decision, reached by majority vote, reflects growing optimism about Ghana's economic trajectory. Announcing the decision, Governor Dr. Johnson Pandesisiama acknowledged potential risks from pending utility tariff reviews, but said robust buffers and prudent fiscal policies will sustain disinflation.
Headline inflation is expected to drop to within the medium-term target of 8 plus and minus 2% by the end of the fourth quarter. However, the possible upward review of utility tariffs could exert some price pressures in the medium term. Notwithstanding this, maintenance of an appropriate monetary policy stance, strong sterilization efforts, ongoing fiscal consolidation, and adequate reserve buffers should sustain the disinflation process.
On the cedi, the governor dismissed fears of instability and urged Ghanaians to remain confident in the currency's resilience.
Stability of the cedi shouldn't be a problem, regardless of the decision that we have made. We have enough reserves to support whatever imports that are coming up in the fourth quarter, Christmas season imports, you name it. We have our projected, cash flow table. We figured everything out in our cash flow table, and we have the reserves covered to keep these. So there shouldn't be any anxiety at all about the exchange rate going forward.
The BOG expects the external sector to remain resilient, supported by favorable commodity prices and stronger remittance inflows. The MPC says it will continue to monitor macroeconomic developments and make further policy adjustments if needed to reinforce growth and price stability.
In other business news, technical advisor at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, has underscored Ghana's steady progress towards holistic energy security, crediting ongoing government initiatives to revitalize the petroleum and power sectors. President GHOne Dramani Mahama recently revealed that the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation and its exploration subsidiary are advancing preparations to drill 2 new exploration wells before the end of Q3 2026. Dr. Sulemana says the new developments in the sector would unlock further investments, strengthen the petroleum value chain, and position Ghana as an energy secure nation.
This is the first time, of course, we're going to take our destiny into our own hands within the offshore basin. And what it will mean is that if we manage to drill these exploration wells, that will pave way for appraisal and development. If we drill them and the results that come looks good, it's going to drive a lot of partnerships, and it will be an opportunity for GNPC to gravitate towards to become a standalone operator. Remember, we are trying to champion the construction of our gas facility, a second gas processing plant. And that's also going to be a huge catalyst that can help this link between the upstream and then the downstream, and also a project that can help this power to gas requirement. And if we manage to do that and do that successfully, which I'm very confident that we can do, we are doing, if you follow the roadmap that we have for ourselves, and we stay on course on that, we're going to be able to do that. And we can link up the power and the petroleum sector with the gas as the conduit, and we'll achieve what they call holistic energy security. So yes, these are bright moments within the upstream. We only need to stay the course and make sure that we perpetuate what the foundation that we have built.
And that's all the business news we've got for you this evening. More news shortly.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
You're welcome back to News Tonight. And some more local stories this evening. According to the Ghana National Fire Service, the first half of 2025 recorded 3,595 fire outbreaks nationwide, resulting in the deaths of 16 people and injuries to 110 others. In response to these alarming figures, the Fire Protection Association of Ghana, FIPAG, has renewed its mandate, reintroducing regulatory reforms and strengthening industry guidelines to tackle the problem from the source through prevention.
In the first half of 2025, over 15 people lost their lives to fire, and property worth millions of cedis were lost in market fires across the country. It is against this backdrop that the Fire Protection Association of Ghana, FIPAG, made up of companies that supply and maintain fire extinguishers, alarms, emergency lighting systems, sprinklers and related services, renewed its mandate to strengthen industry standards with a relaunch. Speaking at the event, chairman of the association, Ohene Mensabudu, underscored the urgent need for a framework to regulate fire service providers, ensure compliance with international best practices, and build capacity through training programs.
It looks like today when you go out there, everybody seems to do what they want because they think there is money in the system, and therefore everybody is selling and installing firefighting equipment, which sometimes is very low key to see yourself putting where item that's not supposed to be. And this is causing most of the fires in the country, and that is giving very more hectic time for fire service to control. We look for insurance commission to support the association to grow.
FIPAG's Executive Secretary, Alexander Kofi, also highlighted plans to collaborate with international bodies for technical support and training, while calling on government to open access to the Fire Control Fund to sustain prevention efforts.
The incompetent service provider can cause more fires. So that segment, we should pay particular attention to that segment and train and retrain our people every time. For instance, if you are in UK and you are an extinguisher technician, after every 3 years, you need to go for another refresher course. Without that, you can't ply your trade. We want to bring those things here so that we can create jobs for the teeming masses.
With its relaunch, FIPAG is optimistic that a more coordinated and professional approach to fire safety will help reduce the country's vulnerability to devastating fire outbreaks and safeguard lives.
Next on News Tonight, we bring you international news. National front this evening. According to security sources, a former defense minister and vocal critic of Togo's government, Marguerite Nyakade, has been arrested. Nyakade, the sister-in-law of long-serving leader Faure Gnassingbé, recently called for his resignation and urged the military to stand with the people in ending decades of dynastic rule. She was arrested for serious acts, including her recent public appearance inciting the military to rebellion. A police source told the AFP news agency. Local media reported that she was arrested by security forces at her home in the capital, Lomé, on Wednesday. Togo has recently been gripped by deadly protests calling for Gnassingbé to resign and release political prisoners. In other international news, the head of Malawi's Electoral Commission has warned political parties of electoral victory, insisting they should wait for official results. The warning came after the parties of the two main presidential candidates, the incumbent Lazarus Chakwera and his predecessor, Peter Mutharika, claimed they had won Tuesday's poll. Speaking at a press conference on Thursday, Malawi's EC said only the commission is mandated to release results. Malawians have been eagerly awaiting results, but the commission has not yet released any, despite the fact that nearly all votes have been counted. The commission is expected to announce the outcome only after all votes have been tallied and verified in order to avoid the possibility of the final results being challenged. We've got lots more international and local stories available on our website, starfm.com.gh. That brings an end to News Tonight here on GHOne TV this evening. Thank you so much for making the time. It was produced by Bernice Abubedu Lanza. I'm